Hello everyone. Today we will talk about multitasking in Java. Generally, we always talk about multiple tasks performing at the same time. That is known as a multitasking. Like we are uh, eating food and we are listening to movie. We are having popcorn and watching movie. We are performing any task on the computer system at the same time we are listening to music or many multiple tasks we are doing. So what about multitasking in a computer technical term? Before that we will try to understand the difference between these three terms: program, process and thread. Program is nothing but a static program. We generally say that a set of instruction written to perform or accomplish a particular task is nothing but a program. It is static in nature. It means it is not executing, it is resident in the memory. Example, if I have created one file abc.doc in Word, Microsoft Word, I have done my work and I have saved that file and closed it. So that will become program for me. Any PowerPoint presentation that I have created, I have closed that file, that is program. In Java, suppose I have written xyz.java file and I have closed that notepad. These are the examples of program. So it means we have finished our task, program is closed, file is closed, and that is available in the memory. That is our program. Second term is a process. A program which is running or which is in execution is known as a process, which is dynamic in nature. Example, the Word file that we had created abc.doc, and we want to open that file. So generally what we do, we go to the Word file and we double click on that file and the file gets opened. So at that time when the file is opened and when we are working on it, that is known as a process. It was known as a program till the time it was closed. But when we are working in that file, then it becomes process because it is in execution. Now, Java file, which we have already created, that is closed, it means it had become a program. But when I compile the Java file or when I run the Java file, it means that Java code has taken for the execution, that is known as a process. Next term is a thread. Thread is a smallest executable code in a program or process. Obviously, program and process are the same thing. Unless and until it is closed, it is a program, and when it is in execution, it is a process. But both are same thing. So, thread means a smallest block of code written in a program or process is known as a thread. Block. It means whatever the statements that are enclosed in a opening and closing curly braces, it becomes a block or executable unit. That is known as a thread. Like a if block, else block, for block, while block, do while block, any function that we write in the program with opening and closing curly braces, that becomes thread because that are smallest chunk of code that gets executed when the condition is triggered. Now, these program or processes are having multiple threads in the same code. So generally our operating system like Windows operating system is known as a multi-programming or multi-processing OS. Means it is allowing multiple process to run simultaneously. You know that when we are working on the word file, same time we can open the PowerPoint and we can switch between the windows. We can surf on the Google Chrome. At the same time, we are switching to Word file. Likewise, it means our operating system is allowing to jump into the programs while running. It's not the case like we have to close the Word file and then only we can start the PowerPoint presentation. That is not the case. And each process may have multiple threads in its own space. Now, this multitasking means performing multiple tasks at the same time, having two categories. First one is known as a multiprogramming, means multiprocessing, and second one is known as a multithreading. Now we will see. So we will try to understand what is multiprogramming or processing and difference between multithreading. So multiprogramming or multiprocessing means as our computer system is comprising of central processing unit, uh, IO devices, input output devices, and the main system software is operating system like Windows, Linux, and these days Android, iOS, and this OS is allowing multiple programs to be open at the same time, which becomes a process. This process based multitasking means multiprogramming or multiprocessing. Means we can work on the Word file and we can work at the PowerPoint presentation. We can listen to music at the same time. So all these tasks or processes are running on the CPU at the same time. In multiprogramming or multiprocessing, multiple application softwares are running at the same time. You can use calculator, you are in the paint window, you are seeing the movies, etc. Now, in multi-threading as opposite to multi-programming, multiple threads of the same program gets executed at the same time. For example, there is only one process, but there are many smallest executable block in that process and that gets executed at the same time. That is known as a multi-threading. Here, when we have only one program, only one process is there and that process is having many threads, many blocks, like one for loop, another for loop, or any if else condition, while loop, and that all three blocks or more blocks get executed or running at the same time. This is example of multi-threading. For example, over here in one class ABC, I have function get function. Here I have two for blocks, and these two for blocks are running at the same time. Then it will become the example of multi-threading. Generally, if we have sequential execution of our program, if this class ABC, if I have taken in the example, if this thread 1, suppose this is one block, thread 1, this is second block, thread 2. If I perform the sequential execution of this class ABC, first thread 1 will execute completely and then thread 2 will run. So it will take more time. But in multi-threading, what will happen? For this class ABC, both the thread will be running at the same time. So half of the execution time will be saved. Now, in process based multitasking, There are more than one programs running. In the thread-based multitasking, there are more than two threads will be running at same time. In process-based multitasking, we have to jump from one application software to another. Therefore, context switching process takes more time. But in thread-based multitasking, switching between the thread is quite inexpensive and takes less time because threads are available in the same program. Let me give you one example for this process based multitasking, that we want to go from one apartment to another apartment. So we have to go from one address space to another address space. The complete address space of both the apartment is different. But in thread based multitasking, consider the example of in the same apartment, you have to go from one floor to another floor. So address space is same. You have to just switch to the next floor. So that's why the overhead is less in the multi-threading and overhead is more in the multi processing or programming. Now we will move on to the thread part because multi-programming and multi-processing part is being taken care by the operating system. That's why we are able to perform multiple tasks at the same time. Like I am operating on this PPT presentation and I am recording the voice and I am switching between the windows like notepad and to the command prompt at the same time. This is the example of multi-programming or multiprocessing, and this is done by the operating system. Now we will switch on to the multi-threading part. Now how multiple threads can be executed at same time. Before that, we will understand what are the types of threads. There is one default thread or system thread or predefined thread available in our program. And second category is user defined thread. The default thread is always a main function in our Java program. This is having opening and closing curly braces, so it becomes a thread. It is always the first thread that gets run when we run the Java program. Now, how to create user defined thread. So there are two ways of creating user defined thread: by extending thread class and second by implementing runnable interface. So in this session we had seen about the technical difference between the terms like program, process and thread. What is multitasking? What are the two categories of multitasking, that is multi-programming and multi-threading? What do you mean by thread? And what is the what are the types of threads that we have seen in this session? Further detail about multi-threading will be discussed in the next session. Thank you.